So I'm going to get out an outliner brush that's pretty damp, but it's not dripping. It's just towel dry damp. And I'm going to pick up a lot of color here. Maybe sing happy birthday a few times. There we go. I'm going to outline my dude. Yo, what up? Kind of reminds me of that, I don't think he was a cow. I don't know if you've seen Zootopia, but like the guy at the yoga place with all the flies around his head. This is what he reminds me of. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Teacher's like, ooh, shiny. I am just going to outline until I kind of, run out of paint. I'm not really going to outline the underside of my ear because I kind of want the underside of my ear to be kind of like either a little bit of a pinkish in the color. You know how you get like the pink cartilage? I don't know if you've seen a dog's ear where if you lift their ear it's kind of pinkish gray. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. So now, this is going to be different. If you have like a Holstein cow like this one, you might outline with black here around the black spots and then drag and pull that color into that shape. Okay? If you have one like me, like a Devon cow or one that's more of a solid color, then you're just going to drag all the color into the entire body, if that makes sense. So it all depends on what you have chosen, but pick a brush that is appropriate for whatever shape you plan on playing with today. I have a huge shape here. It's really big. So I'm going to use my big flat. I'm going to make sure it's damp, but it's not soaking wet. And then I'll drag that color in using a controlled wash. And if it's not as dark as what you want it to be, that is okay. After you are done spreading your paint and thinning out your outline so that some of that color goes in towards the body, after you're done doing that, you can always add an additional layer of color on top using the dot method or the dabbing method, where we dab color on the top of the body using tiny little dots of color, and then we spread it out. But let's just try to see what we got here before we jump too far ahead of ourselves. Right now, I'm just going to put like a base, really tan color right now. I'm just going to focus on that because I have a feeling that my chest, I'm going to have to either darken it or light or darken the area around it. I'm going to pull up a picture on Google just to make sure that I'm not overthinking it. If you need to switch to a smaller brush, don't be lazy like your teacher. Just switch to the brush. I don't want to actually have to clean my brush, so I'm risking. I'll be honest. Cleaning brushes, I don't like doing it. So no. And this is why teacher got a really bad grade in craft. Craft's having like those really pristine, clean lines and everything looks perfect. Nobody has time for that, right? Yep, it looks like his chest is a little bit darker. You see that? So I'm going to add drops of brown to the chest area. And then I'm going to spread it out using my flat. I'm going to add some darkness here, just underneath my chin. So if you need to grab a picture to kind of have an idea of what your cow's coloring and everything should be like, don't be shy. Feel free to grab it. I definitely had to. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's almost kind of like a golden color here. So see how this is a little bit lighter? So I'm going to use yellow. And then maybe a few dots of brown to kind of get that golden kind of honey color that this dude has. For this next part here, I am literally using a clean, damp flat, and I'm going to spread and use the dampness in the flat to mix these two colors together. Make sure you're not using too much water when doing this. Just a drop should do. If I want my honey spot to be a little bit darker, I can simply add a few more dots of brown and repeat the mixing process that I mentioned earlier. Now that I have my hair in, I might actually want to create a shadow underneath said hair. So I'm going to add a small amount of brown dots just near the base of my cow's hairdo to incorporate a shadow of some sort. I am going to also use my small brush, clean it out, and squeeze out the extra water, and then fan out or feather out these dots accordingly to create my shadow shape. Alright, so for the eyes here, what I'm doing is I'm using a very intense black, maybe a dot of water and lots and lots and lots and lots of black paint. After you're done doing your watercolor painting, you can color those eyes in using a black pen. But I would wait to do the pen part until you're completely done with all of your watercolor process. That way you don't risk getting the pen wet and having ink go all over your paper. Oh no! Did you guys see that my eye bled? Ah! If you come across this where some of your paint is too wet and it bleeds, take a clean cloth, okay? Press down on said area and lift, okay? Just dab it out. And clean out my brush here. Add just a little bit of water, and I'm going to keep dabbing. And what I'll do is I'll wait for this to dry, and I'll probably make that a shadowy spot. But that's one way to lighten that black area. So just heads up. Tidbit from teacher. Alright, so we have the background placed for our beloved, cute, and adorable cow. I decided to stick with the fluffy dude because he's absolutely adorable. I just want to squeeze his little stinking cheeks. They're so darn cute. Alright. Uh-oh. There we go. Good. So I was thinking probably this barn I'm going to want to be like a reddish color. Same thing with the silo. And then I was thinking green grass or what have you for the front here. So let's start with kind of like a wash. Let's kind of get all of our background colors in before we decide to add any type of texture. Since my red is a little bit of a lighter color, I'm going to lighten up my line here with my eraser. Let's do that drag and pull technique I've been teaching you to do controlled wash. We're going to use a pointer, small, tiny filbert brush to help get our lines in. And we want a little bit of water on it, but we don't want it soaking wet. We don't want it like dripping. We just want it damp, kind of like towel dry damp, where you get out of the shower and you kind of dust off the extra water from your head by using a towel. And we're going to want to swirl this dude inside this palette for maybe 1 or 2 happy birthday songs. I really want my paintbrush to kind of change color here. You see how it's changing into the color red? Specifically so I can have a nice, bold, bright red outline. See? Bam. And do the outline for both the silo and the barn. If your paint gets kind of scratchy, you see how there's like white popping up through here, just water bug the tip of your brush onto the surface of your cup. Don't dunk it, just water bug. When I say water bug, you're literally taking the bristles or the very tips of your paintbrush's legs and you're touching them where they're floating almost on the top or the surface of the water, kind of like a water bug. That's why I use the water bug analogy. If you're more of a ballerina fan, then ballerina your paintbrush over the surface of your water cup or water bug it. Yeah. And it will really help that paint loosen up and become more fluid. So I'm just going to do an outline for all these shapes. See, I'm starting to run out of paint and water. So I'm going to flip my brush over and just paint over the area. I'm going to set this dude aside. Actually, I might just put him in my water cup. Let's switch out to a medium-sized flat. I mean, you could maybe, you could even do a large if you wanted to, depending on your size of your barn or whatever you have in the background. And you can just add just a little bit of water to your flat. Line your bristles up against the edge of your outline and pull that color into the body or shape of your silo. Same thing with your barn. Now, if you don't like how these outlines are kind of, losing their stark, bold quality, you can always go back and add that outline back in when you are done letting the surface of your paper dry. Just a quick tidbit, we're literally using the outline to do a controlled wash. And when I say controlled, that means it tries to keep the color in a certain area. It kind of serves like a border, kind of blocks some of that paint from escaping into the other areas of your canvas. Before you decide to do anything else with your barn, let it dry. Very, very important. You don't want your red leaking into other colors. You don't want to tear your paper if you're adding your wood grain using pen. You don't want to do any of that. Just let it dry. Just let it dry.